If copying a brain structure can produce lifelike behavior, does that mean we have copied life itself? That question used to belong mostly to science fiction, but a recent digital fruit fly demonstration has made it feel much less distant. A fruit fly brain structure was placed into a computer model. Then a virtual fruit fly body began to move inside a digital environment. It moved. It turned. It responded to signals around it. And from the outside, it looked almost like a tiny animal living inside a simulated world. At first, the question feels obvious. Did it come alive? But that may not be the safest question to ask. The deeper question is this. If we copy the structure of a brain, and that structure can produce lifelike behavior, have we copied life, or only the visible surface of life? To understand that, we have to slow down and separate a few things that often get mixed together. Scientists have mapped the connectome of the adult fruit fly brain. A connectome is basically a wiring map of neural connections. It is not a soul map. It is not a complete instruction manual for life. It is a detailed map of how neurons connect to one another and how signals may move through that structure. In public descriptions, the adult fruit fly brain has roughly 139,000 neurons and more than 50 million synaptic connections. For something as small as a fruit fly, that is already an enormous level of complexity. Because a fruit fly is not just a tiny moving object. It can fly. It can search for food. It can avoid danger. It can respond to light, smell, movement, and changes in its environment. So when researchers map the connections inside its brain, they are not simply drawing a biological diagram. They are opening a door to a much deeper question. How does neural structure produce behavior? That is why the digital fruit fly demonstration attracted attention. Ian describes its work as connecting a connectome-based brain model to a virtual fruit fly body. In other words, this is not just a simple 3D animation of a fly. And it is not the same as writing a basic script that tells the fly, walk forward, turn left, or look for food. The idea is that a model based on neural structure can interact with a virtual body and a virtual environment, producing behavior-like output. That is what makes the demonstration feel so striking. It suggests that behavior may, at least in some form, emerge from structure. But this is where we have to be very careful. Behavior appearing in a system does not automatically mean life has been copied. That is the most important dividing line in this story. We can think about it in 4 layers. The first layer is structure. That is the connectome, the wiring map. The second layer is activity. A computer model uses that structure to simulate some form of neural activity. The third layer is behavior. That modeled activity is connected to a virtual body, and the body produces visible actions. It moves. It turns. It reacts. But the fourth layer is the one we are tempted to jump into too quickly. Life. And that is where the question becomes difficult. The first 3 layers can be mapped, modeled, tested, and improved. But the fourth layer is not so easy to prove. A system can move without being alive. A system can respond without being conscious. A system can look lifelike without life itself having been copied. That does not make the experiment meaningless. Actually, it makes it more important. The powerful part of this demonstration is not that it proves digital life has arrived. The powerful part is that it moves an old question into a new place. In the past, people asked, can life be copied? Now the harder question is, if behavior can be copied, what standard do we use to decide whether life has been copied too? That is why we need to separate 3 layers of claim. First, there is the verified scientific milestone. Researchers have mapped the adult fruit fly brain connectome, giving science a detailed wiring diagram of a small but complex nervous system. Second, there is the company demonstration. Ian describes an embodied brain emulation demonstration, where a brain model is connected to a virtual fruit fly body. Third, there are the conclusions that have not been proven. whether the system is alive, whether it is conscious, whether it should be called a true digital life form. Those three layers cannot be treated as the same thing. If we mix them together, we may turn structural modeling into life uploading. We may turn behavior-like output into consciousness. And we may turn an important scientific demonstration into the claim that science has created life. That may sound more dramatic, but it makes the real question less clear. A safer way to understand this is that the digital fruit fly helps us see something more precise. Life is not a simple label. It may not be only movement. It may not be only reaction. It may not be only the ability to make choices inside an environment. Life may also involve a body, metabolism, development, continuous interaction with the real world, sensory history, biological regulation, and perhaps some form of subjective experience that science still does not fully understand. So when a virtual fruit fly starts to move, what we are seeing may not be life being copied. We may be seeing the boundary of life becoming less obvious. And that is the real weight of the topic. Because the fruit fly is only the doorway. If one day the copied structure is not from a fruit fly, but from something much more complex, the question becomes much harder. What if a digital copy could speak like you? What if it remembered what you remembered? What if it had your personality, your habits, your fears, your preferences, even the same people it claimed to love? Would that be you? Or would it be a system that behaves like you? That question cannot be answered with a simple yes or no. Because copying information is not necessarily the same as continuing experience. Copying behavior is not necessarily the same as continuing the self that is living through that behavior. This is why the idea of digital immortality has such a difficult problem at its center. If a computer creates a perfect copy of you, other people may feel that you are still there. But from your side, the question is different. Did your experience continue? Or did a new copy begin? That is not a question technology marketing can solve. It sits at the edge of science, philosophy, and ethics. So return to the digital fruit fly. It moves inside a virtual world. Its behavior makes us pause. It tempts us to say, maybe life has been copied. But the clearer answer is, maybe not. What science is closer to copying, at least for now, is structure. Structure can help produce behavior. Behavior can make us feel that life has appeared. But life itself may not live only in movement. This demonstration does not give us the final answer. It changes the question. We used to imagine that the line between life and machine was clear. Now, that line is beginning to blur. Not because we have definitely created life, but because we are beginning to understand how difficult it is to define life in the first place. A copied brain structure may create the conditions for behavior, but that does not mean it has copied life itself.